What's up, everybody? And boy, oh boy, let's get the citations out of the way. This is Daily Mail. There, the citations out of the way. If ever you wanted to divide the country and solidify the bases, this is how you do it. At midnight tonight, Amazon is planning on shutting off the servers for Parler on the Amazon Web Services. That would effectively shut down Parler until they rebuilt from scratch their own servers. All you're going to do is create a solidified base when you do this. First, it seems to me like they're just trying to stifle their competition. It doesn't look good. The visuals of it look pretty bad. Secondly, so now you're going to have half the country over on Twitter and the other half of the country on Parler. So now you're going to have a bunch of people on Twitter on the left living in an echo chamber and a bunch of people on Parler on the right living in an echo chamber. And all these people, no matter which side they're in, they're going to be surrounded with people who talk about the same thing, think about the same thing, believe in the same thing. And so they're just going to believe that they are correct no matter what they believe without any kind of challenging or opposing opinions. And then when the two sides meet, because we live in a world where you're going to run into people who have dissenting opinions at some point, sometime in your life, you're going to have two sides that are completely radicalized because all they've done is live in an echo chamber. They've had confirmation bias. You're over on Twitter, you believe the world works one way. If you're over on Parler, you believe the world works another way. Well, why don't we have something where both of them can conglomerate together? I mean, that's what it was supposed to be anyways, right? Kind of. We weren't supposed to say, well, conservatives over here and liberals over there, Republicans over here, Democrats over there. No. A country divided cannot stand. The rest of the world our enemies are encouraging this. Because now we're so busy fighting ourselves that we can't see any forest or any trees now. Let's read this. Parler faces shutdown. Amazon vows to switch off free speech sites servers at midnight as Apple follows Google in banning it. I almost feel like we're going through this crazy conservative or Republican purge where we're just saying, hey, if you are of this title, then be gone. That's a bad stance. We need competition, both politically and in business. Competition politically makes for better ideas. That's why we have the opposing parties, the opposing views, because the truth of things, the reality of things is 9 times out of 10 somewhere in between both sides. It's hardly ever one side is completely right and the other side is completely wrong. That's just not the way it works. It's like when you go to a carnival and you have a jar of change and they say, if you can guess how much money is in here, you get all that money in the jar. And if they're one of those places where they have how many people have guessed and what their guessing number was, you can add up all the numbers and divide by the amount of people, and whatever that number is, it's going to be pretty close. Because singularly, yeah, we're smart as individuals. But as a whole, as an entity, thinking as a whole for the entity itself, the United States of America, we're brilliant. Because we can hear the bad ideas and we can hear the good ideas, and we as a nation as a whole can sort through these things. But when you start dividing the nation, you start solidifying bases. You're forcing people to live in echo chambers. You're forcing people to hear confirmation bias. You're forcing a us and them scenario. And an us and them scenario is never good, because who's us and who's them? To you, you're the us, but to them, you're the them. And to them, they're the us. So, where do you stand? With the us or with them? Because no matter which side you're at, you're the us. And the other side is always the them. We can't have that. We need to have an us, the United States, with a bunch of different opposing opinions. And on the business aspect, I mean, it just seems like they're trying to stifle the competition, like they're using this to stifle competition. And competition in business is good for the consumers too. It forces businesses to evolve. It forces them to offer something better than their competitor to get customers. It forces them to treat their customers with respect and better, because otherwise, well, their customers will just go to the next person. Jeff Bezos' Amazon said it had suspended Parler from its Amazon Web Services, AWS, unit for violating its terms of service by failing to effectively deal with a steady increase in violent content on the social networking service. Well, I could say the same thing of Twitter. I see some pretty darn, how did they say it? Violent content. I see a lot of violent content on Twitter. Are you going to ban yourselves? No! Of course they're not going to ban themselves. That'd be silly. That'd be silly. Don't do that. Parler's CEO, John Matz, announced news revealing it could leave the app unavailable for weeks as the company attempts to rebuild from scratch. Early Saturday night, Apple said it is also suspending the app over accusations it is being used to incite violence. So's Twitter. So's Facebook. Oh wait, but you can't ban yourselves because you'd lose revenue for yourself. But an upstart company that has no choice but to use your services in order to try to start, well, obviously you can ban them. That sounds like there's something illegal there. I can't remember what it was called. It wasn't antitrust. What was it? There was a case, Ma and Pa Bell, with the phone company where they had locked it up and you had to use their services, and they were banning other companies from using their telephone wires, their telephone lines. So the United States government literally split Ma and Pa Bell up into two separate companies. Well, this sounds like the same thing. You have to use their web services in order to be seen. Well, if they control the web services, they control who can start up on them. So you either play ball or get off, right? Sounds to me like we need new Google. We need new conglomerate. God, these tech giants are getting so powerful. They're getting super, super powerful, and it's kind of scary. They can frame the narrative any which direction they want. I mean, look at my channel. You think you see all the videos I've uploaded? No. Most of my videos, most of my groundbreaking videos, and this is what gets me, this is what makes me want to pull my hair out. I will literally break a story, like actually break a story. Nobody is talking about it. Upload a video on it. YouTube will come back with some bullshit thing on it saying that this YouTube is violates this because of this reason, and it's like, what reason? It's a bullshit reason. Like I said, video game violence. What video game? What depiction of video game? What video game footage, mine or someone else's, have I ever done on my channel? Ever. Especially recently. I mean, come on now. And so it's just a constant battle. It's censorship. And I don't like it. The United States is supposed to be able to move together looking at both sides of the fence. We're not supposed to have blinders on because that's how you trip and fall. The Apple suspension comes after the tech giant gave Parler 24 hours to address the threats to people's safety or be removed from its app store. The move comes one day after Google also removed Parler from its app store, also citing posts inciting violence, and demanded robust content moderation from the app, favored by many Trump supporters. Same thing with Facebook and Twitter, though. But that's not what we need. More censorship? No. If someone has a bad idea, I want the bad idea to be shown out there. I want everybody to know, hey, this person has a bad idea, and here's why they have a bad idea. I don't want to hide a bad idea. We're raising a bunch of gentle children who are never going to be exposed to any of the evils of the world until they're exposed to the evils of the world. And then when they are exposed to the evils of the world, because they have no idea evil exists, they're shocked. Ask those, I said it before, ask those two girls that went from Switzerland or Norway or wherever it was that went bicycling through the Middle East to prove evil didn't exist. Well, guess what? They may not have thought evil existed because somebody didn't raise them right. Somebody didn't tell them, hey, you might not want to do certain things, might not want to go certain places, and here's why. And guess what? They lost. They lost the game. And by losing the game, I mean the game of life. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I encourage you to look it up. Two girls from, it was either Switzerland or Norway, went bicycling through the Middle East to prove evil didn't exist. And their ending was tragic. We'll leave it at that. PARLER had been flooded by conservatives and right-wingers fleeing Facebook and Twitter. And how about sometimes just people who believe in freedom of speech? Like, you're trying to lump everybody into a small little section, a small box, and that doesn't work. Fleeing Facebook and Twitter in recent days in the wake of suspension of prominent conservative figures, including Trump himself, and the warnings from Apple. Mates branded the shutoffs and suspensions as a coordinated attack by tech giants to kill competition in the marketplace. And it looks that way. I mean, it really does look that way. The CEO also revealed late night Saturday PARLER had removed a post from right-wing attorney Lynn Wood, a staunch Trump supporter, that called for Vice President Mike Pence to be executed by firing squads. And they are removing content. They're doing it. I mean, it doesn't look good. John Mates, Sunday, tomorrow, which is today at time of recording this video, at midnight, Amazon will be shutting off all of our servers in an attempt to completely remove free speech off the internet. There is the possibility PARLER will be unavailable on the internet for up to a week as we rebuild from scratch. We prepared for events like this by never relying on Amazon's proprietary infrastructure and building bare metal products. We'll try our best to move to a new provider right now, as we have many competing for our business. However, Amazon, Google, and Apple purposefully did this as a coordinated effort, knowing our options would be limited, and knowing this would inflict the most damage right as President Trump was banned from the tech companies. This was a coordinated attack by the tech giants to kill competition in the marketplace. We were too successful, too fast. You can expect the war on competition and free speech to continue, but don't count us out. Hashtag speak freely. And I would have to agree with him. I don't know. Maybe I'm just one of those old school guys. Those old school people that believes that, okay, the Supreme Court has upheld that giving the middle finger is free speech. That you can walk up to a cop and give him the middle finger. In fact, they have upheld that it is the oldest recorded form of free speech. But yet, plenty of times, if you hold your free speech finger up to an officer, they choose to arrest you. Stifling of free speech. Free speech is being stifled all over the place. And it's not that it's being stifled, it's that we are literally handing it over on a silver platter because people who are fighting for your freedom of speech are being lambasted by the very same people that they're trying to fight for freedom of speech. It's weird. I'm a staunch supporter of freedom of speech, which is probably why my videos get so banned, so attacked, and it's very frustrating. The amount of videos that I record in a day, I mean, what you see is only a fraction of what I'm actually working on and what I'm actually doing. And it sucks. Comment, like, subscribe, use your free speech, and let's help the channel out if you choose and see so fit. I love you guys. Your freedom of speech matters. And If you give away your freedom of speech, you're also giving away my freedom of speech. If I give away my freedom of speech, I'm giving away your freedom of speech. Because you can't take one person's rights away without setting precedents and taking everybody else's rights away too. And it's a slippery road. It's easy to take one set of rights and then move over to the next set of rights and move over to the next set of rights. At some point, you've got to stop and take a stand and say, hey, look, I know things can be offensive out there. I know things can be crazy. And I agree, yes, if someone's calling for outright violence, yes, I don't agree with that at all. You know that if you watch my channel. You have lost me the minute you go for violence. There's no excuse for it. I don't care. Violence is a no. Let me say that again to anybody out there that is trying to take my stuff out of context, which they do all the time. Violence is a no. Violence is a no. Violence is a no. I don't like violence. I abhor violence. I have seen enough violence in my life. I have partaken enough violence in my life. I'm done. I don't choose any violence. I don't think there is any excuse for it. No thank you, and there we go. That way, anybody out there who wants to try to take me out of context, it's done. But freedom of speech and being offensive, there's nothing wrong with that. You have a right to be offensive, and you have a right to be offended. And if you're offended, well, I'm sorry. That's you who are offended. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I rambled, but I love you guys. And this all matters. I don't think you guys realize how much all this matters. Competition for freedom of speech and competition for business. I never thought we'd be in these parts. Wow. If I'd have told myself 10 years that we'd be fighting for freedom of speech like this, I'd have said, no. Somebody would have called it out long ago. No, not so much. Hopefully when the Biden administration takes place and they see that Democrats are no better than the Republicans, same shit, just a different pile, and then maybe people's eyes will open up. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one.